Hi, my name is Arturo Sandoval, and I'm a fiber artist who specializes in art quilts. In 1973, I received a National Endowment for the Arts grant, which allowed me to start making art quilts. Prior to that, I was a weaver on the loom, making sculpture and three-dimensional installations within my work. As I began to explore quilting, I began with non-traditional materials, using vinyls, netting, reflective mylars, paint, and the hand sewing machine that my wife had at the time. It was important for me to create something that was translucent so that it would be two-sided and that you could see the front where the imagery would be reflected using light sources in the gallery, and you could walk around it where you would see the back of the piece being backlit, where it would give a completely different visual statement in the work. So one would be bright and colorful, the other would be gloomy and stormy. And the idea came from working with images from the sky. Moving from California, where there's the ocean, the mountains, and the city, I moved to Michigan where there's a lot of big sky. So the sky became an important element in my work in the 70s. When I moved to Kentucky, I continued working in that manner, but I discovered in Frankfurt a lot of reused and repurposed materials that I could explore in my own work. I began to work with microfilm, 35mm images that were very graphic, and I used the mylar colors that I had attained from my graduate work at Cranbrook Academy of Art in Michigan. So using these repurposed materials, I was beginning to explore how they would look on a grand scale, approximately 7 feet by 7 feet. This scale is used by me in my work to try to have the visitor or the recipient of my work become engrossed in the environment of it, become totally immersed in the imagery and reflective properties of my materials. That's why the scale is large, and in some pieces my work is even larger, 80 by 60 feet, 20 by 40 feet. And those are from private commissions and public commissions that I have executed. So in this gallery, there's a variety of work that began in 2004 when I began exploring microfilm in the way of patterns from textiles. And so the textiles that I chose were plain weave and were the Baroque expressive zigzag pattern that you'll see in Pattern Fusion #1. So after incorporating textile motifs in my work, I chose to move on and look on the internet for other interesting designs and patterns which I could explore. Since I was working on the computer, I thought, well, why not try motherboard images? So I Googled motherboard images, and I became infatuated with their complex structures. And I realized, since they are basically squares or rectangles, that they would fit very well into my work and the formats which I had been exploring. Pattern Fusion #10, Motherboard 1, was my first exploration, where I looked at the motherboard and tried to replicate, using my mylars and nettings and microfilm and holographic tapes, to explore what I thought would be the motherboard experience. So as I continued working in this manner, this exhibition shows the growth pattern of all those experiences. So the piece behind me, which is the last motherboard that I had expressed, I wanted to basically use the real image of the motherboard in this work. So I took a digital image and blew it up to the scale that you see, But instead of using just plain fabric, canvas, or vinyl, I'm using a perforated vinyl, which they use in the industry to mount on windows so that you can see through the pattern graphic into the business during nighttime. So what I did is I took the Mylar, in this case green, and I sewed it behind every strip that was vertical in the piece so that that green Mylar reflection could show through the actual pattern of the motherboard that I experienced. So as you look around the gallery, you'll see different colors, different approaches to my motherboard expression, some of which are, again, like the first, very much a design transference, using my imagination to create the motherboard. And some of them are different colors, some are vertical, some are square. But for me, this idea of working with analog materials, creating a digital format, the motherboard, brings together my full consciousness in this realm of having the conceptual element of using analog imageries, which is embedded into digital fabrications. And so I'm very grateful that I found these two elements together to create this large body of work. Thank you for your time. I'm grateful to have this opportunity to share my works in this gallery with you. And I'm thankful to Annie and to Lori who have given me this opportunity. And may it be helpful in understanding my art.